People ask me, why are you hosting this? What is your purpose? And saying we have to bring all the innovators together, all the investors together so that they can see what we are trying to do. And, a rising tide, right, lifts all boats. I think we need a lot of boats and we need a lot of work to raise the tide. So anyway, thank you very much for being here. I want to thank Sirica AI team for supporting this and also Mobility Path. Thank you very much for sponsoring and Helpers Community, which is nonprofit board that I serve on. They've been amazing supporters of work here. Thank you. My name is Uli Chettipally. I'm that physician, emergency physician for most of my career. About 6 years ago, I took early retirement from my regular job at Kaiser. I was in research and emergency medicine to tackle innovation. At first, I thought, okay, healthcare is a mess. So let me start by doing some same thing, bringing people together. And I started a company called InnovatorMD. And right now, that's the largest organization that looks at physician innovation. By the way, this week is JP Morgan week. So I'm hosting 2 events and then
It's a great group. Bravo for you doing that.
Thank you. We thought, we should, doing that. And then my daughter, her name is Siri. By the way, she was named before Apple. Her name. And she was diagnosed when she was 3, ASD, autism spectrum disorder. At that time, it was just called autism. And for some reason, they used to call it PDD and OS because they didn't want it to label. But she is, I would say, moderate functioning. She is non-speaking. While she was growing up, she had some aggressive behaviors, very hard. So we had to put her in a special school. Basically, in special needs schools, they are mainly trying to manage her day, take care of her. A little, I would call it a glorified babysitting. Although the school was great, the staff was great. But the problem is you don't see much progress. And when she was about to graduate, the principal called us parents and said, she may need to be on medication because with her aggressive behaviors, she will not be accepted into any independent living situation. And we were already, thinking about, what are we going to do once she's out of the school system? Of course, there's, daycare programs, again, babysitting, right? But her behaviors continue. And so a bit about me, and I'll come to why that is important in my journey. By the way, I wrote the book Punishing Machine, The Promise of Artificial Intelligence in 2018, 2019, when I just got out of my job in correction, because I could see what is coming and how that is going to change healthcare. But I've served on boards, Autism Society of America, the South Bay Area chapter, and Helpers Community currently. I also serve on Florida Health's advisory board. And now we are totally focusing on autism. I am focusing on it. I'm going to do that at least for the next 10 years. So hopefully we'll bring some new innovations to the market. And that's called Sirica Center. We're putting all these together. Why this meeting? Meeting again is to bring people together and hopefully stimulate some networking, so help each other, For example, Bert traveled from New Jersey to be here. I was amazed, and I was able to get Ryan here. You saw Kathy and Elizabeth. All these people are doing some amazing work, and some of you I know are doing amazing work. So I thought it would be inspirational to just get people here and let them know that they're not alone in this journey. We know the problem. There are about 7 million people, and it's growing. Nobody knows why. There are no new therapies, I would say, that you can write home about. We are trying to do biomarkers, no known cause, although there are a few genetic, mutations or changes that you can identify. But we got to do something. I mean, the huge part of autism has not been discovered. I would say that it's a treasure trove if you are an innovator. So the way we think about this is a biopsychosocial model. So there is biology, of course, genes and the anatomy, the physiology of a person with autism is different, but we don't know what exactly the differences are. And there's a big psychological component, and of course, there's a social component. And that goes into the diagnosis of autism, right? Social interactions, psychological factors. So this is how it looks. Let's start with the sociology or social things, social supports, the family background, social education. There was this huge drive to improve awareness of autism, and that's all the social part. And then, when you come to psychology, the behaviors, personality, the anxieties, that's where the ABA and that school of thought comes in. But then we really don't know where it's coming from. And so if you go upstream, it's the biology. There's something happening there, and it could be a physical illness, a vulnerability, immune function problems, of course, neurochemistry, all of those things, medication effects, all of these things, have a play in the etiology of this disease, but we don't know exactly which ones. And so this is our understanding of disease of autism, and this is how we want to see it, but we want to start with the biology first. One of the things during my work with InnovatorMD is that I've seen 150, 200 startups each year, and out of those, I take 20 or 30 of them to come to my meetings. And out of those, I picked 1 or 2 companies to work with closely. And one of the things I discovered was that there was nothing going on in autism as far as immediate go-to-market ready applications. There was one company, though, that was developing a machine for treating stroke rehabilitation. And so I kind of really got intrigued by that machine that they were building. So much so that I invested in them, I joined them as an advisor and as the chief medical officer. And I wanted to see exactly what happens to people and how this is being developed. And so when I saw the results of early patients with stroke on this machine, I was amazed that a lot of the deficits that they had for years were actually getting better on this machine. And so that's when I said, okay, I got to use this. The second thing that happened was that, again, I saw my daughter started, she was, because of the medications and everything to control the behavior, she was gaining weight and it was not controllable. And so that's when we started an exercise program, as Elizabeth was saying. That was a game changer. This was a pretty intensive exercise program. It's not just, 3 to 5 days a week, circuit training, boxing, weightlifting, aerobics, all of the above. And that intensive program, within a month, we started seeing results. And the result was her appetite came down, her anxiety came down, and she was not eating as much, and her behavior changed. And that was very, very interesting to me. And that's when I decided, okay, I need to find something like this, a machine that can actually help people exercise and have fun while they're doing it with less human intervention. Because, humans are expensive pieces in the treatment, right? And so that's how we came up with this, Sirica Therapeutics, and I'll talk a little bit. I'll show you that. The second thing that I noticed is that language is a major problem, and we know. I know some of you may know the letterboard method, although it's been around for 20 plus years. It is not popular. Number one, it was, kind of demonized by certain organizations, especially the speech and speech pathology organizations, because they didn't like it, although there were some negative stories around it. We tried it about, when Siri was about 8 or 9, it didn't work as well. So we gave up. And then again, we tried about 3.5 years ago when she was an adult, and it clicked. It clicked so well that I was amazed at how wonderful it was. So 3.5 years ago, she had no academic education, non-speaker. Now she's in college studying to become a neuroscientist. Thank you. And soon after she started communicating, our first Father's Day, the coach asked her, "What do you want to tell your dad?" She said, "Thank you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me." And that really felt hard, hit her hard. So that's when I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I going after these other AI companies, trying to make billions and billions? Of course I do as wise AI company, but here is something that can be so dramatically life-changing. It changes your behavior, it changes your attitude. She's such a pleasant person to be with right now. And why is this not being done? And so I found my co-founder, Raj, whom you'll meet outside. And that's my daughter's schedule.
Yeah, we know she's gonna be.
So that's another thing. Our striding is a great therapy. Why? The bottom line is that experiences that involve motor and sensory inputs, if you put that into experience, then that is what we are doing here. It's called cognitive sensory motor therapy. And this system here, and that's a prototype, and that's my daughter, uses a robotic exercise machine so that, it's automated. It uses physical exercise. You have to pedal and steer with your arms. We are gaming and AI, of course. So what it is that you are taking the brain, hijacking the brain into this virtual experience. Pretty intense experience, and it's exciting for the kids. We did a study with 9 individuals, and they had a great time. Let me show you. So one of the things that came out of this study was that one of the things that came out of this study was these 9 individuals was that people said, oh, I don't think autistic people will like because it's too much stimulation. Actually, the opposite. It's very targeted stimulation and they love it. The second thing was that there were no side effects. We thought, oh, they might have seizures. Oh, they might have, nausea, vomiting. They'll get dizzy or whatever. No. The third thing was that, how do you teach a non-speaking person how to play this game? They had to learn by themselves, and they figured it out within 2 to 3 minutes. That was the beauty of this, is that, you just strap them on and let them go. And then, as they get better and better, you start increasing the level of the game. So that is one of our first innovations that right now we are raising money for pre-seed drops so that we want to bring it to Bay Area, set up a clinic here. The second innovation is, how do we take this letter board, make it useful for many people? About 2 million people in the US are non-speaking autistics. So I know 53%, that's great, but I'm working on the other end. So how do we get these people moving to explore what exactly they can learn and what else is going on in their brain? How can they communicate to us so that their life becomes much better? When Siri said, she's been using the letter board, which is a physical board, and then you point to letters. She's been using that. And then there are lessons, and there are organizations that put out lessons. But number one, the coaches are very expensive. If you want to hire a coach, anywhere from $90 to $150. That's what we were paying. And there's nobody in the Bay Area right now. There's nobody taking new cases. We used to fly to Salt Lake City because there was a coach there, or fly her here just to do homework. And so we said, there has to be a better way of doing this. And so Raj and I, in phase 1, we have started this, which will generate AI-based lessons, or AI-generated lessons, basically. So using LLMs. My daughter wants to become a neuroscientist. So where do I go get lessons about neuroscience? So there is a specific way that these lessons have to be generated. The second phase is, how can we make a dynamic letterboard? Otherwise, you have these 7, 8 pieces of letterboards, different sizes, different, but digitally you can make that happen. And the third phase is, how do you build a coach that is personalized using AI? So AI becomes the coach instead of a person. Although any parent should be able to drive that. That's our goal. This we haven't built yet. That's phase 3. So I'll stop that there so that we will have, maybe 5 minutes for questions. Any questions for me? And then we'll go to the startup presentations. Yes.
Can you describe a little bit more about the dynamic letterboard and what it actually kind of looks like? It sounds conceptual. I'd love to hear more.
Sure. So when you train people on the letterboard, okay. So the understanding is that there's the sensory side of the brain. And this is a virtual explanation. Sensory side of the brain and the motor side of the brain. In autistic individuals, there is a disconnect. So they can see, hear, taste, smell, touch, everything. They can understand the environment perfectly. They can think. They can analyze things. But there's no way to know how smart they are because we don't have a way of connecting that thought process to words or signs or anything else. So anything they try with motor, it comes up odd. it comes out different. They get frustrated and they get angry. They get all kinds of, that's how the behaviors start. Because that their frustration they're showing. So one thing we know that all communication comes from fine motor. So if you think about the brain, there's a diagram if you want to look at. It's called homunculus. It shows on the brain where the speech is formed, where the fingers are, where the legs are, where the belly is. Most of it is fine motor, the facial muscles, the speech muscles, the typing for the fingers, the sign language. All this is fine motor, right? And fine motor doesn't work for most non-speaking artists. That's why they can't speak. But if you route that information through gross motor, then they may be able to communicate. And so pointing is gross motor. And so because it is gross motor, you have to have a large size of letters, right? And then slowly shrink it as they train.
Improve, yeah.
And then it becomes smaller. So that they use several different boards, and then they keep changing because you cannot spell a full word with 2 letters, so you gotta keep 3 letters. And so that you can do using AI with dynamic.
Okay, thank you.
Is gross motor for eye tracking, is that fine motor or gross motor or somewhere in between? So for eye tracking, how did that fit in?
It's fine motor also. And most of the facial muscles
Got
are all fine motor muscles. And so that's why, it's hard for them to look at things and, all those things appear. But if you can reroute it and then slowly train, and then slowly you can get up to the fine motor level. In some people, not everyone, but it doesn't matter as long as they're able to communicate and tell you exactly, my daughter can write a 500-word essay. Of course, it takes about 4 hours because she has to touch each one. And so if it's a digital one, at least you have the text and you can just copy and paste it into the homework. And so that was the impetus for me to come up with this method where we are creating a whole new method of communication using digital AI approaches. Any other questions?
Is your personal AI's coach something?
Go ahead.
Is your personal AI coach and your panel I'm looking at over here on Ed, are they intertwined around the Ed at this presentation board? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're building it as modules, 3 different modules, but eventually, they all will be get interconnected. So
Yeah, we should have you come to our group.
yes. I'm waiting for so we are running beta on the lessons, and then we're gonna run beta on the letterboard. Once we have that, then
We want to have some efficacy because a lot of investors right now are not touching investment unless there's proven efficacy of some sort.
yeah, my daughter is the test case.
Okay. Sometimes they want more than one though.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Of course. How many of the prototypes do you have? And second question is it software you used from the original creator?
So we are not building the hardware.
Right.
We are licensing that technology. But the software, we are modifying it for autistic individuals. Because there are certain games and certain types that they really like. And that's what we're working on right now to put that into place. Yes.
Is the hope to put these in places that they be the most benefit, like in schools, or do you have an idea of people getting it for their child and having it in home?
It is expensive right now because obviously the technology is newish. When it goes to manufacturing outside the US, then it becomes cheaper. And as more and more robots come into play, the parts become cheaper. So eventually, yes, home, but initially it's going to be clinics, schools, and any other gathering place, I would say. Yes, sir.
Maybe this question's more appropriate later, but given that question, expensive, what's expensive?
So this is built one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And it is,
What's your target price, sir? Because your prototype is not the answer he probably wants,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's so that, where I'm going is I'm wondering if there's an opportunity, I look at, some folks in there around grant funding a prototype.
yeah,
We put it in our program, could I do that? What is a prototype? What's the
150K.
training ramp up?
150K is what you're.
Right, so that feels manageable.
And they gave us a good price because obviously we have a mission.
And then the training for somebody to help,
1 day training.
one day training, you're good to it.
Only high school student can
All right.
run it.
That's not an investment, but it is an investment.
Yeah, people.
And we also run we're the only post-insurance stroke and TBI therapy practice between San Jose and Norman County.
Whoa,
And so that would be another thing I'd look at for multiple uses.
yeah,
So anyway,
definitely. Yeah, they're already selling to stroke centers. So that's it from me, and